Good afternoon. In this week's parasha, Parashat Vayishlach, Yaakov sends a message to his brother Esav, and this message really is his opening line and the opening discussion of what he hopes will be some sort of reconciliation. Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lefanav el Esav echiv aretz Seir sde Edom. Yaakov sends messengers before him to Esav his brother to the land of Seir, the field of Edom. V'yitzav otam lemor, and he commanded them, saying, Ko tomrun la'adoni le'Esav, so shall you say to my master Esav, Im Lavan garti, ko amardecha Yaakov, I beg your pardon, so says your servant Yaakov, Im Lavan garti ve'echar ad ata, with Lavan I have dwelled, and I have delayed until now. And this is the introduction. He's setting the scene. He's going to continue by saying that he has achieved wealth, and he's sending a message because he wants the two of them to have a good relationship. But Rashi notes the language, the expression that he uses over here. Why is he saying, I've stayed with Lavanim, Lavan Garti, and I've been here until now? So there are two messages that are possibly contained within his choice of words. Obviously, when we're dealing with somebody like Yaakov, we must analyze the words and the implications that he uses. So, Im Lavan Garti, with Lavan I have stayed, sojourned, dwelled. So Rashi says what he's telling us is, I did not achieve prominence, I did not achieve position, I remained a ger, a stranger, a foreigner. With Lavan, I was still a foreigner. Basically, the message that he wants to convey to Esav is that he's got nothing to be jealous about. That's the first explanation, that's for another time. The second explanation is that he says Garti. Now, the word Garti has a numerical value. Each of the numbers, each of the letters in Hebrew has a corresponding number. Gimel is 3, Resh is 200, Taf is 400, and Yud is 10. And now you've just done the math, so that's 613, which is, of course, the number of mitzvot. Im Lavan Garti, with Lavan, is 613. And the message there, Rashi says, is that he's saying to Esav, even though I stayed with the wicked Lavan, I still kept all 613 mitzvot. I am still a perfect tzaddik. I am still perfect in my righteousness. And the question on that, what's confusing, what's perplexing about that statement, is why are you telling Esav this? If the first communication you're having with the wicked Esav, our sages say, is a murderer and an adulterer and a robber and everything else. So why do you want to? What do you think you're going to impress him by telling him how righteous you are? You're meeting up with, the Cossacks, and you want to say, listen, I just want to tell you, Mr. Cossack, I say the Shema every morning at the right time. I don't miss a day. Mincha every hour. What's he trying to say? Only kosher. So Rabbi Moshe Weinstein says he is setting the tone for the relationship. He says that Yaakov is saying to Esav, I want to make peace with you, but I want you to know that there are certain principles that for me are immutable, certain things on which I'm not prepared to compromise. And primarily what that means is the mitzvah observance. I would like to make peace with you, but you ask me, will I make peace with you if it means giving up the mitzvot? The answer is no. That's the very first thing he says. I want to make friends, but I kept all the mitzvot with Lavan. I kept them in the most difficult circumstances. That's not going to change. And Rabbi Jonathan Sachs points out in his book, To Heal a Fractured World, that there is a fundamental difference between politics and religion. He says the very virtues of the political arena are vices, are negative things within a religious context. In politics, if you are able to sit down and understand where one another are coming from and find a compromise, you give a bit, he gives a bit, that is a political victory. That's fantastic. In religion, when you compromise, you are actually doing something very bad. To say, you know what, let's sit down, let the Jews and the Christians and the Muslims all sit down around a table, and they'll all say, you know what, we have certain fundamentals, and let's try to keep those fundamentals, and let's make a universe, we'll all compromise a little bit, right? Jews will give up on kashrut, right? The Christians will give up on, the Catholics will give up on Mass, and you work it out, and the Muslims will give up on the Hajj, right? And we'll all find something that that works for all of us. That is not a religious victory. While that may be a political solution, that is simply unacceptable in the realm of religion. Now, Rabbi Sachs says that in the context, in one of his articles, he says that in a context of why religious principles should not define politics. But I would like to say it the other way around, why politics should not try to meddle too much with religion, with Torah. What you will often have is you have people who deal primarily in the realm of politics, and they will sit down and they will say to the rabbis and the religious leaders, and they'll say, you know what, let's compromise, let's get on, let's make it a little bit easier, let's cut corners, let's do this. They don't understand. Yes, in politics what is being proposed, great idea, great solution, that's a very good political solution. But when it comes to our commitment to God, when it comes to our commitment to mitzvah observance, that's something that should be constantly strengthened. That's something we should recommit ourselves to every day. Not in a way that it becomes fanatical, but the definition of a fanatic, I heard a wonderful explanation in the name of Rabbi Neria, that he says the definition of a fanatic is somebody who keeps one important principle by compromising a different important principle. Definition of fanatic is not somebody who's 100% committed. It can be 100% committed, and it's a very good thing. Fanatic is somebody who's 100% committed in a shallow way, in a way that is not holistic. We should be 100% committed to Hashem and to the Torah and to Judaism. We should understand that there are many factors in Judaism, such as kavod habriyut, the honor due to people. And many times one of the halachic considerations that are involved in making a halachic decision is how will this impact on the dignity of the human being. If it's going to impact negatively on the dignity of the human being, then that's a valid halachic factor. That's not a compromise on the Torah. And so, shalom sometimes, peace is sometimes a valid halachic consideration, and there are many times that it takes precedence over other halachic considerations, such as truth. If you have a choice of whether to tell the truth, which will create an unpleasant situation between people, or a lie, which will smooth over hurt emotions, then you go with the lie, not because truth is not a value, but because shalom, because peace is a greater value. So it's the same idea over here. Yes, we have these values. Yes, I want to be friends with you. However, my being friends with you is not a more important value than my commitment to Torah and mitzvot. Torah and mitzvot, that's the top value. That's the top priority. You want me to compromise on that system? Then we are not operating from a base of common understanding and common good faith. In religion, it's not so easy to sit down to say, well, I'm coming from here, you're coming from there, let's work out a compromise. It's a different dynamic at work. And that's what Yaakov's saying to Esav. Esav, I'm not a politician. I want to be your friend. I want to make peace with you. I want us to go forward together into a bright future. But I'm not going to give up the Torah. I'm not going to give up Hashem. I'm not going to give up the mitzvot. Have a wonderful Shabbos.